I carried her up the stairs in my arms. My boss. The woman I'd worked for every single day for the past 4 years. And she was completely drunk. Her head rested against my chest. Her perfume, something soft like vanilla and lavender, mixed with the smell of wine. She wasn't heavy, but my heart was pounding so hard I thought she might hear it. "Daniel," she whispered. Her voice was small. Broken. "I'm here, Ms. Carter," I said quietly. "We're almost home." She didn't say anything else. Just closed her eyes. And for the first time since I'd met her, she looked fragile. I didn't know it then, but that night, carrying my drunk boss up 3 flights of stairs to her apartment, would change everything. My life. Her life. My daughter's life. Everything. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me go back. Just a little. Before we continue, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, we'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. My name is Daniel Reed. I'm 38 years old. I've been a single father for 6 years. And I've been in love with a woman I could never have for almost as long. That woman was Evelyn Carter. My boss. She owned the marketing firm where I worked. Not just any firm, one of the top agencies in the city. She was smart, elegant, the kind of woman who walked into a room and everyone noticed. Not because she tried, but because she just had something. Grace, I think they call it. I met her when I was 32, freshly divorced. Broken in ways I didn't even understand yet. I had just gotten custody of my daughter, Sophie, who was 4 at the time. I was barely keeping my head above water. I needed work. Stable work. The kind that paid well and didn't ask too many questions about why I had to leave early sometimes, or why I looked so tired. Evelyn hired me. She didn't ask about my divorce. Didn't pry into my life. She just looked at my resume, asked me a few questions, and said, "You start Monday." I'll never forget that. Over the years, I worked harder than I ever had. I wanted to prove I deserved to be there. That she hadn't made a mistake. And slowly, without meaning to, I started to notice her. The way she held her coffee cup with both hands in the morning. The way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. The way she was kind to everyone, even when she didn't have to be. But Evelyn Carter was my boss. She was also 10 years older than me. And she was married. So I buried it. Whatever I felt. I buried it deep and told myself it didn't matter. But that night, 3 weeks ago, everything fell apart. It started with a company dinner. One of those formal events where everyone dresses up and pretends to like each other. I wasn't planning to go. Sophie had a school project due, and I'd promised to help her. But Evelyn asked me personally. "Daniel," she said, standing at my desk that afternoon. She looked tired. More tired than usual. "I need you there tonight. Please." I couldn't say no to her. So I called my neighbor, Mrs. Lynn, and asked if Sophie could stay with her for a few hours. She said yes. Sophie wasn't happy about it, but she understood. "You work too much, Dad," she said as I kissed her forehead. "I know, sweetheart. I'm sorry." She just hugged me. The dinner was fine at first. Boring mostly. People talking about campaigns and budgets, and things I didn't care about. But then I noticed Evelyn. She was sitting at the head of the table, barely touching her food. Her husband, Richard, sat beside her. He was on his phone. He didn't look at her once. I watched her pour herself a glass of wine. Then another. Then another. By the time dessert came, she was laughing too loud. Smiling too wide. The kind of smile that doesn't reach your eyes. Richard didn't notice. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. When the dinner ended, people started to leave. I was about to go when I saw Evelyn stand up and stumble. She caught herself on the table. No one else seemed to notice. But I did. I walked over. "Ms. Carter," I said quietly. "Are you okay?" She looked at me. Her eyes were glassy. Red. "I'm fine, Daniel. Where's your husband?" She laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. "Gone," she said. "He left 20 minutes ago." My chest tightened. "Let me take you home." She shook her head. "You don't have to." "I know," I said. "But I'm going to." She didn't argue after that. I helped her into my car. She sat in the passenger seat, quiet, staring out the window. The city lights blurred past us. I didn't ask her what was wrong. I didn't think she'd tell me even if I did. When we got to her building, she tried to get out on her own and nearly fell. I caught her just in time. "I've got you," I said. She looked up at me. For a moment, just a moment, something passed between us. Something I couldn't name. "Thank you, Daniel," she whispered. I helped her up the stairs. She lived on the 3rd floor, and there was no elevator. By the time we reached her door, she was leaning most of her weight on me. "Keys?" I asked. She fumbled in her purse and handed them to me. I unlocked the door and helped her inside. Her apartment was not what I expected. It was beautiful, yes. Clean. Expensive furniture. Everything in its place. But it felt empty. There were no pictures on the walls. No personal touches. Nothing that said someone actually lived there. "Bedroom's down the hall," she mumbled. I led her there. Helped her sit on the edge of the bed. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. I looked at her. "For what?" "For this." She gestured vaguely at herself. "For making you take care of me. You probably think I'm pathetic." "I don't," I said. And I meant it. She looked at me. Really looked at me. "Why are you always so kind to me, Daniel?" I didn't know how to answer that. So I just said, "Because you deserve kindness." Her eyes filled with tears. I should have left then. I should have said goodnight and walked out the door. But I didn't. Instead, I sat down beside her. "Do you want to talk about it?" I asked gently. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "He's leaving me." My heart stopped. "Your husband?" She nodded. "He told me this morning. He's been seeing someone else. Someone younger. Someone." Her voice cracked. "Someone better." "That's not true," I said. "Isn't it?" She laughed bitterly. "I'm 48 years old, Daniel. I've spent the last 15 years building a company, working 12-hour days. And for what? So my husband could fall in love with his assistant." I didn't know what to say. So I just reached over and took her hand. She looked down at our hands. Then back at me. "You're a good man," she whispered. "You're a good woman," I said. And then before I could stop myself, I said, "He's a fool for letting you go." She stared at me. "Daniel." "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "That was..." "No." She squeezed my hand. "Don't apologize." We sat there in silence. I should have left. But she didn't let go of my hand. And I didn't pull away. I woke up on her couch. The sun was coming through the windows. My neck hurt. My back hurt. Everything hurt. It took me a second to remember where I was. Evelyn's apartment. I sat up fast. The bedroom door was closed. I could hear water running. She was in the shower. I rubbed my face and checked my phone. 7 missed calls from Mrs. Lynn. My stomach dropped. "Sophie." I called her back immediately. "Daniel?" Mrs. Lynn's voice was sharp. "Where have you been? Sophie's been asking for you all morning." "I'm so sorry," I said. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I hung up and stood. I should leave. I should go before Evelyn came out, and things got awkward. But then the bathroom door opened. She stepped out, wrapped in a robe, her hair wet. She saw me. We just stared at each other. "You stayed," she said quietly. "I fell asleep," I said. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's okay." Silence. "Thank you," she said. "For last night. For everything." I nodded. "I should go. My daughter." "Of course." She smiled. But it was sad. "Go. I'll see you at work." I walked to the door. Then I stopped. "Miss Carter?" "Evelyn," she said. "Please. Call me Evelyn." I turned back. "Evelyn," I said slowly. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." She looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded. "I know." I left. But something had shifted. Something I couldn't take back. When I got home, Sophie was waiting at the door. "Dad!" She ran to me and hugged me tight. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," I said, holding her. "I'm so sorry. Where were you?" I didn't know how to explain. So I just said, "Work ran late. It won't happen again." She looked up at me. "Promise." I kissed her forehead. "Promise." But it wasn't true. because the next day at work, Evelyn called me into her office. And everything changed again. When I walked into her office, she was standing by the window. She didn't turn around right away. "Close the door," she said quietly. I did. My heart was pounding. "Evelyn, I need to apologize," she said, turning to face me. "For last night. For putting you in that position. It wasn't fair to you. You didn't do anything wrong. I was drunk. I was emotional. And you," she stopped. "You were kind. Too kind." I didn't know what to say. "I'm your boss, Daniel," she continued. "And I crossed a line. I won't let it happen again." "You didn't cross anything," I said. She looked at me. "Didn't I?" And in that moment I realized. She felt it too. Whatever this was between us. She felt it. For weeks after that, we didn't talk about it. We went back to normal. Or at least we tried. But things were different. She smiled at me more. Asked me how Sophie was doing. Brought me coffee in the mornings. Small things. But they meant everything. And I started staying late at the office more. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to be near her. Sophie noticed. "Dad," she said one night, "are you okay?" "Of course, sweetheart." "Why? You seem different." I pulled her close. "I'm fine," I lied. "I promise." But I wasn't fine. Because I was falling in love with a woman I couldn't have. It happened on a Friday. I was working late. So was Evelyn. Everyone else had gone home. I walked into her office with a report she'd asked for. She was sitting at her desk, staring at her phone. "Evelyn." She looked up. Her eyes were red. "He filed," she said quietly. "What?" "The divorce. Richard filed today." My chest tightened. I set the report down and walked over to her. "I'm sorry." She laughed. It was hollow. I knew it was coming. I didn't think it would hurt this much. I knelt beside her chair. "It's okay to hurt," I said gently. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "Why does it feel like I wasted 15 years of my life?" "You didn't waste anything," I said. "You built something incredible. You're incredible." "Am I?" she whispered. "Yes." And then, without thinking, I reached up and wiped a tear from her cheek. She froze. So did I. Our eyes met. "Daniel." "I'm sorry." I started to pull back. But she caught my hand. "Don't," she whispered. And then she kissed me. I should have stopped it. I should have pulled away. But I didn't. Because for the first time in years, I felt alive. She pulled back first. We stared at each other. Both of us breathing hard. "I can't do this," she said. "I know. You work for me. I'm older than you. I'm your boss." "I know," I said again. "But I can't stop thinking about you." My heart stopped. "Evelyn, I know it's wrong," she said quickly. "I know it's complicated. But Daniel, I'm in love with you." The words came out before I could stop them. She stared at me. "What?" "I'm in love with you," I said again. Stronger this time. "I have been for years." She covered her mouth with her hand. "Daniel, you can't." "I know," I said. "I know all the reasons why this is a bad idea. But I don't care anymore." Tears filled her eyes again. "I'm a mess," she whispered. "My life is falling apart." "Then let me help you put it back together." She shook her head. "You have a daughter. A life. I can't ask you to." "You're not asking," I said. "I'm offering." She looked at me for a long time. Then she kissed me again. And this time neither of us pulled away. We didn't tell anyone. Not at first. We couldn't. Evelyn was still technically married. I was still her employee. And Sophie. I didn't know how to explain any of this to Sophie. So we kept it secret. We'd meet at her apartment after work. Talk for hours. She told me about her marriage. How it had been broken for years. How she'd tried to fix it and failed. I told her about my divorce. About how I'd felt like I'd failed as a husband. As a father. "You're a wonderful father," she said one night, lying beside me on her couch. "How do you know?" "Because of the way you talk about Sophie. The way your whole face lights up when you mention her." I smiled. "She's my whole world." "I know." Evelyn looked at me. "And that's why I'm scared." "Of what?" "That I'll ruin this. That I'll ruin you." I took her hand. "You won't." But deep down, I wondered if she was right. Sophie was getting suspicious. "Dad, why are you always working late now?" she asked one night. "Just busy, sweetheart." "Is it because of your boss?" My heart stopped. "What?" "Mrs. Lynn said you're always at work because your boss makes you stay late." I forced a smile. "It's not like that." But Sophie just looked at me. And I realized I was lying to my daughter. For the first time in her life, I was lying to her. And it made me feel sick. It all came to a head 3 months later. Evelyn's divorce was finalized. She was free. But I still hadn't told Sophie. And Evelyn was starting to notice. "Daniel," she said one night, "we can't keep hiding forever." "I know." "Then when?" I didn't have an answer. She sat back. "You're ashamed of me." "What?" "No." "Then why won't you tell your daughter about me?" "It's not that simple." "Isn't it?" Her voice cracked. "I'm in love with you, Daniel. And I'm tired of pretending I'm not." I stared at her. "You love me?" She laughed. Tears in her eyes. "Of course I do, you idiot." I pulled her close and kissed her. "I love you too," I whispered. "Then prove it," she said. "Tell Sophie." I did. The next day, I sat Sophie down at the kitchen table. "Sweetheart," I said slowly, "there's something I need to tell you." She looked up at me with those big, innocent eyes. "What is it, Dad?" I took a deep breath. "I've been seeing someone." She blinked. "Like dating?" "Yes." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Is it your boss?" My heart stopped. "How did you?" "You talk about her a lot," Sophie said. "And you smile when you do." I didn't know what to say. "Are you mad?" I asked quietly. She shook her head. "Does she make you happy?" "Yes." "Then I'm not mad." I felt a weight lift off my chest. "Really?" Sophie smiled. "Dad, you've been sad for a really long time. If she makes you happy, then I'm happy." I pulled her into a hug. "I love you, sweetheart." "I love you too, Dad." 2 weeks later, I introduced Sophie to Evelyn. I was terrified, but I didn't need to be. Evelyn brought Sophie a book. One Sophie had mentioned wanting months ago. Sophie's face lit up. "You remembered." Evelyn smiled. "Of course I did." And just like that, Sophie fell in love with her too. The next 6 months were the happiest of my life. Evelyn and I stopped hiding. We went out on real dates. Held hands in public. Laughed like we'd never laughed before. Sophie adored her. They'd sit together for hours talking about books and school and everything in between. Evelyn even came to Sophie's school recital. When Sophie saw her in the audience, she waved so big I thought her arm would fall off. After the recital, Sophie ran up to us. "Did you see me?" she asked Evelyn breathlessly. "I did," Evelyn said, kneeling down. "You were incredible." Sophie beamed. "I'm so glad you came." Evelyn looked at me, then back at Sophie. "Me too, sweetheart." But it wasn't all perfect. People at work started to talk. "Did you hear? She's dating her employee." "That's so unprofessional." "I wonder if that's why he got promoted." I tried to ignore it, but it was hard. One day, Evelyn called me into her office. "Daniel," she said, "I think you should quit." I stared at her. "What?" "Not because I don't want you here," she said quickly, "but because it's causing problems. People are talking, and I don't want your career to suffer because of me." "I don't care what people say." "I do," she said. "I care about you, about your future. And I think you'd be happier somewhere else. Somewhere you don't have to hide." I thought about it for a long time, and then I realized she was right. I gave my 2 weeks' notice the next day. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it was also freeing. On my last day, Evelyn walked me out. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." "I should be thanking you." She smiled. "So what now?" I took her hand. "Now," I said, "we start fresh. No boss. No employee. Just us." She kissed me. And for the first time, I felt like we had a real future. A year later, I asked her to marry me. We were at the park. The same park where I used to take Sophie when she was little. Sophie was there too, hiding behind a tree with the ring. I got down on one knee. Evelyn's hands flew to her mouth. "Daniel." "Evelyn Carter." I said, "You changed my life. You made me believe in love again, in second chances. And I don't want to spend another day without you." Tears streamed down her face. "Will you marry me?" She didn't answer right away. She just looked at me, then at Sophie, who was peeking out from behind the tree, grinning. And then she laughed. "Yes," she said. "Yes, yes, yes." I slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her. Sophie ran over and hugged us both. "Does this mean you're going to be my mom?" she asked Evelyn. Evelyn looked at her, tears in her eyes. "If you'll have me," she said softly. Sophie nodded. "I will." We got married 6 months later. It was a small ceremony, just close friends and family. Sophie was the flower girl. She wore a white dress and walked down the aisle scattering rose petals, looking so grown up it made my chest ache. When Evelyn walked down the aisle, I couldn't breathe. She was beautiful, not just because of the dress or the flowers or the way the light caught her hair, but because she was smiling, really smiling. For the first time since I'd met her, she looked free. When we said our vows, I looked into her eyes and said, "Evelyn, you taught me that it's never too late. That love doesn't follow rules or timelines. That sometimes the best things in life come when you least expect them. I promise to love you, to protect you, to build a life with you that's full of laughter and joy and hope. And I promise to never take a single day with you for granted." She cried. Then she said her vows. "Daniel, you saved me. Not from my marriage or my divorce or my loneliness. You saved me from myself. You showed me that I was worthy of love, that I deserved kindness, that I didn't have to be perfect to be enough. I promise to love you with everything I have, to be a mother to Sophie, and to never stop believing in us." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. The reception was perfect. Sophie danced with both of us. Evelyn's friends told me stories about her that made me love her even more. And at the end of the night, as we stood outside under the stars, Evelyn turned to me and said, "Thank you." "For what?" "For taking me home that night. For not giving up on me. For loving me." I kissed her. "Thank you for letting me." We didn't have a perfect life. No one does. But we had a good life. A real life. Evelyn eventually sold her company and started consulting. She wanted more time at home. More time with Sophie. More time with me. I started my own marketing business. It was small, but it was mine. Sophie thrived. She had 2 parents who loved her, who showed up for her, who made her feel safe. And every night, we'd sit down for dinner together. The 3 of us. A family. One night, about 2 years after the wedding, Sophie looked up from her plate and said, "Dad." "Yeah, sweetheart. Do you remember when you used to be sad all the time?" I glanced at Evelyn. She was smiling. "I do," I said. "You're not sad anymore." "No," I said. "I'm not." "Good." Sophie nodded. "I like you happy." Evelyn reached over and squeezed my hand. And I realized something. I'd spent so many years thinking I'd missed my chance at happiness. That I'd made too many mistakes. Married the wrong person. Wasted too much time. But I was wrong. Because sometimes happiness doesn't come when you're ready. It comes when you need it most. Years passed. Sophie grew up. She went to college. Fell in love. Started her own life. But she always came home. And every time she did, she'd hug Evelyn and say, "Thanks for being my mom." And Evelyn would cry. Every single time. Evelyn and I grew old together. We traveled. Laughed. Fought sometimes. Made up every time. We built a life that wasn't perfect. But it was ours. And that was enough. One evening when we were both in our 60s, we sat on the porch watching the sunset. Evelyn leaned her head on my shoulder. "Do you ever think about that night?" she asked. "What night?" "The night you carried me home. Drunk and broken and a complete mess." I smiled. "Every day." "Really? Really?" She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I'm glad you didn't leave me on those stairs." I kissed the top of her head. "I'm glad you let me carry you." And that's the truth about love. It doesn't always come in the way you expect. It doesn't always make sense. Sometimes it shows up in the middle of the night, stumbling and broken and asking for help. And sometimes, all you can do is say yes. You say yes to the risk. Yes to the fear. Yes to the possibility that it might not work out. Because the alternative, never trying at all, is so much worse. If you're listening to this and you're wondering if it's too late for you, it's not. If you think you've missed your chance at love, you haven't. If you believe your best days are behind you, they're not. Love doesn't have a timeline. It doesn't care how old you are, how many mistakes you've made, how much you've lost. It just waits, quietly, patiently, for the moment when you're finally ready to say yes. I took my drunk boss home one night, and it changed my life. Not because of what happened, but because I chose to stay. I chose to care. I chose to love. And that choice, that single terrifying choice, gave me everything. So take the chance. Stay a little longer. Love a little harder. Because you never know. That one small act of kindness might just change your life too. The end. Thank you for listening. If this story touched your heart, like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Love is always worth the risk.